Welcome back to the Mixtape Queens podcast, where we interview creatives worldwide so we give our unique perspectives on how to grow and expand the way you think about your goals and dreams. We are your hosts, Amanda and Elise, and we specialize in spreading music and love around the world. We're excited to have you with us for a very special episode today. Joining us is Scott Lynch, the creator and the motivating force behind Spotify's top 100 Help podcast, The Motivated Mind. With over 5.2 million downloads, he's influencing countless people to discover and utilize their inner superpowers. Scott, your projects all tie back to a single mission, helping others to build their personal mountains. It's so inspiring, and we're beyond blessed and excited to talk to you today.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate you both for having me. I'm excited to dive into each of your questions, and I'm very grateful that I'm here today. So thank you.
Thank you. So Amanda and I are on a mission to reach millions of people around the world by spreading music and spreading love. And we're out here spreading the vibes. It's a great time. Although things can get hard once in a while.
Sure.
It can get complicated, and we were searching for help, and we came across your podcast one day. We're all about motivation and mindset, so we tapped on it, and it hit us hard. We listened to it before we fell asleep and when we wake up every day, and we listened to it again and again and again, and it changed our life. And so today, getting to interview you was really a dream. We thought that would be a huge dream to get to interview you. And I actually turned 37 yesterday, so
Happy
this
birthday.
is kind of like a thank you. It's kind of a present for me because it's been a long road coming, and it on this journey, it can be hard out here in this world. It can be tough.
Sure.
So
Happy birthday, and I certainly don't disagree. Right, life is not easy. But I also think about it from a different perspective. If it was easy, what fun would be life, right? The fact that we have this privilege of being born, of being on this planet in itself is a remarkable, almost unimaginable number that we're here today, that we get to connect from across the United States or connect with someone across the world or impact millions of people, right? That's priceless, right? And that means that we're going to have some challenges along the way, but the return is the impact.
yes.
It's that easy.
Yeah. I mean,
right.
The things that are hard, it's hard for a reason because it gives you that character, and these are your biggest blessings. The things that you go through are making you stronger and giving you experience to help others.
Yes.
So thank you. That's why your podcast means the world to us, and
love it.
We're just so happy to be here.
Likewise. Yeah. I love it.
Well, Scott, have you ever heard a song called "It's Hard Out Here for a Pimp"?
I have, yes.
Yeah.
I have.
Yeah.
I have. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, it's hard out here for a pimp.
That's right.
When you're trying to get that money for the rent.
I love it. Yes. That's so fitting. I love it.
I love that. I mean, you don't have to be a pimp to know that,
Yes.
You need all the help you can get nowadays. We need all the help we can get. And, your podcast is a gem for anyone who's looking to elevate. It's something that we can all relate to, is like existing in this thing called life. Like, especially when you're an artist or a creative, and the social structure isn't necessarily set up for us to like harness these inner gifts that are like for creatives. And we're all kind of on this path to personal development and healing and growth. And we're really curious, how you got started
Mm,
with your podcast, The Motivated Mind. What was that moment that you said, yes, this
mm,
is what I want to do?
mm. So talk about challenges. So I started the podcast in October of 2018. So I feel like a dinosaur doing podcasting. But back in 2015, it was December 26th. And I remember my phone was on the side table in my bedroom, and it vibrated, went off from a text. I walk over, pick up the phone, and it had said that my best friend had been shot. And I remember just reading that and being like, what does that mean? What does that mean? And immediately my mind went to the worst case scenario, just a flood of emotions. And is this real? This doesn't feel real. And trying not to jump into those worst case scenarios, those rivers that stream, I thought, well, hold on. He's an avid outdoorsman. Maybe there was an accidental discharge. Maybe he accidentally shot himself in the leg or the arm. Maybe it's not as bad as it sounds. And it was like 5 or 10 minutes that I was waiting for this other friend to tell me if he was all right, which felt like eternity. And he said, no, Tim, he took his life. And there was just so much emotion and sadness and all of this concoction mixture of things flowing in. And it took me about 2.5 years to really work through those emotions and that event and that trauma. So I spent countless hours going to therapy, the best thing I can suggest for anybody, irrelevant of the position that you are in your life. And what I came to realize is that I was playing this victim card in the moment through those 2.5 years. And it was that I blamed myself for the situation. How did I not see his pain? Why was I not there more, right? And what I came to realize through that discovery process was this $1 million question that I asked myself. Could I take a traumatic, dark event such as that and use it for good? Could I wring out that darkness and actually find some light in it and share that story with other people, be vulnerable with other people, and help people in those same dark places? And the question that followed that was, yes, of course I can, but how and what medium, right? You guys were just talking about art, the beautiful art that's behind you. Podcasting became that art for me. It was a way to take that trauma, that darkness, and help echo what was going on in my mind, in my heart, and help people in difficult situations, in life in general, because life is hard. We all experience some level or form of trauma in our lives. And so in October of 2018, that was the inception of the podcast. I remember recording it below my basement stairs with insulation and sharing it with spider webs and barely being able to talk. Wasn't the best area to create a podcast, but I knew I wanted to get my message out there. I knew I wanted to help people. I knew I wanted to elevate people to say, no, you do have potential. You do have superpowers. What you just need to realize is someone just needs to tap you on the head and say, you've got this, right? It is hard, but you're going to get through this. And so that was really the inception and the start of the podcast. Was the impetus was my friend committing suicide. going through that journey of figuring out and determining what that moment meant for me, and being able to take something so difficult, so challenging, so traumatic, and helping other people to, one, avoid that same outcome, but two, to really find their power, find their value, find their purpose, their passion, their why, and help guide them on that compass. And so that was the start and the impetus behind the Motivated Mind.
Wow.
Powerful.
Yeah.
That's extremely powerful. That is one of the most, I think tragedy can really be beautiful.
Yes.
And it kind of sucks to be in that position where the tragedy happens. But once you see what happens after that and how you can turn it into something beautiful that you can share with others, that you learn through your process, it becomes something completely different than what it started out as. That pain becomes your motivation to really wow, you're awake.
Mm-hmm.
That's the best way I can describe it, because, I've never experienced anything like that personally with a friend. But we've all lost loved ones in certain manners that maybe we felt like, damn, I should have been there more. But the importance after those passings is how we've seen ourselves grow. Once you stop playing victim to your own sadness.
It's a way to create a legacy or forward momentum off of something that was dark and challenging, right? Trauma happening, losing someone, is not the end. It can be the beginning, right? But it only can become the beginning if you realize, or you take some time to understand how you can keep that flame going forward. So my motivation every day when I write and record and sit behind the mic is to remind myself why I'm doing it, right? It's messages that I receive from individuals such as yourself that say, I was going through such a horrible time in my life. I felt lost. I was questioning. I was in bad relationships. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. And then they say, I came across your podcast and then everything changed. I decided to get out of that toxic relationship. I decided I was worth living, right? All of these things that give you goosebumps that you're like, all right, well, this is the consistent fuel and reminder as to why I do what I do.
Yeah. Yeah. It definitely becomes the fuel to the flame. And if it's taken care of well enough, you'll have a full-blown fire like you have yourself.
Yes.
Because you are out there doing it. You are really changing lives. You're making a difference. And it's incredible.
We listen to you every day, like I said, and we encourage everybody to tune in and give yourself that pleasure of looking deeper into yourself and into your life, and stepping away from some of the distractions and giving yourself something to work with. So your podcasts are more like classes, I guess, or like lessons, right? And every once in a while you'll interview a guest. Who would be a dream guest for you to have on the Motivated Mind podcast?
It's not so much a dream guest, right? It's not a name, it's not a face. It's more of a chemical makeup of that person. Do they have a really unique story? Are they willing to get vulnerable with that story? Because I think it's irrelevant of who the guest actually is, right? That so much doesn't matter to me. It's really, are they willing to go deep and maybe even to a dark place so that the listener can say, oh my God, I've been through that exact same thing. And here this person is, and they've persevered. They've pushed through. That means that I can too as well. There's nothing else stopping me, right? And so that's more what we look for when we have guests on the podcast. We get I don't know, maybe 20 to 25 emails a week of people saying, hey, I want to come on the podcast and here are the reasons why. We want to talk about real estate or business. And I'm like, yeah, so does everybody. But at the end of the day, is it going to be unique? Is it going to go to this place where it's going to captivate the audience, where they're going to feel like, wow, I am in a similar set of shoes to that person, right? And so it's not a person, it's more of a formula that we look for when it comes to unique guests. So we have a 4-time gold medalist, Olympic gold medalist that's about to jump on the podcast. That's an amazing story. She came from nothing and somehow got 4 gold medals. Okay, tell me about that. That's interesting, right? That's motivation. That's drive. That's determination. I want to know about that. And so those are the things we more look for in our guests.
Yeah, because you never know what somebody's gone through, and we all have a story. There's so much there to share, and it can be healing too to be able to share your story on the podcast. That's why with our podcast, we interview a lot of music artists, and it really changes people's perception of, you know, what they've accomplished and what they're planning on doing. So podcasts are so important. I really think us starting this podcast, it's changed our lives so much, but that's why we're so dedicated to it and passionate because of the impact that it does have.
Yeah. I love that. I mean, Cheryl Hunter was my most recent guest on the podcast, and she went overseas and was abducted when she was younger. And horrible things happened to her during that abduction. It took her an immense amount of courage to come on my podcast and share a horrific thing that happened to her with my audience. And she does that on stage. She does it on the news. She does it on publications. And there are so many people that have experienced, unfortunately, what she's experienced, but she's giving people power. She's pumping power to the mic into someone's headphone that is saying, I'm not going to jump. I'm not going to do this thing because Cheryl was able to bust through it. Why? I can do that too, right? And that gives me, again, goosebumps. That is the stuff to me. I don't want the entertainment. Sure, it has its time and place, but to me, that's the inspiration that we all need, right? That's the drive that we need to say, there are hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people going through this that have done this. I sure as shit am going to bust through and I'm going to do it too as well.
I know that's right. Yeah, Cheryl's a beacon of light.
Extra motivational. Definitely a beacon of light. It's people like her and people like you who inspire people like us to share our own stories. You know, and I'm so happy that you just shared that with us, because I know that somebody's really going to hear this and they're going to be like, wow, maybe I should really take time to reflect on my own story. And instead of it being about just pushing a narrative like, let's say, real estate or whatever, I can really be honest with these people on how I even got here in the first place. Why am I doing this in the first place? I'm really figuring that out for myself, because I feel like when you try to explain to people your dreams and your goals and everything, that's cool, that's fine. But how did you get there?
Yeah.
What was that moment that was so important that it made you say, I'm ready.
Yeah.
I'm going to do this. This is my passion. This is my path. So very powerful.
I think too, I love that you said that, because so many people do want a formula, right? We are very logical creatures. We think in, if I do this, then I'm going to do this. If I have this, then I can't have this, right? We're very binary in our thinking, and that's just not the reality of the world, right? It's very, very black and white. There are a multitude of ways that we can go about things. And I think what I've come to gather from interviewing so many guests over the years is that adversity was the greatest gift that anybody ever got. I've interviewed individuals that were born in Jamaica and barely could put a slice of bread on the table and now have multiple businesses and have a loving family and a wonderful life. And that was the common thread through each of them, was that they faced something extremely challenging, and they took that thing and they used it as a catapult to push them, throw them into that area that they wanted to go, whether it was public speaking, starting a podcast, creating a business, getting into real estate, whatever. That adversity piece was the thing that they leveraged as the fulcrum, if you will, to get them to where they wanted to go. And so many of us, I think we resist, I'm being inconvenienced by this thing in my life, right? This toxic relationship or this horrible boss, so on and so forth. But what we should be looking at is, how can I use this to my benefit to get to where I want to go? And that, I think, is the winning piece for people. We all want the step 1, 2, 3, and 4, which I deliver those mini lessons that you referred to. But there's so many different ways that you can get there. And our ingredients card is so unique that there's trillions of variables to get you there. So I think really at the crux, the core of all of it is leveraging the adversity to get there is really the one core ingredient to it all, in my opinion.
Absolutely, because you can have the same kind of story as somebody else, but you know what? Nobody's story is yours.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's path is yours. That's yours. It's special.
Yep.
Yeah.
That is your art. That is your powerful piece. That is your snowflake, right? The snowflake being there's not one that's the same. Nobody can copy your unique story, your ingredient card. And if that's the case, why are we not leveraging that more? You don't want to blend in and get into this train track, this line with all these other people. That is no way to live. I'll tell you, there are so many people that they end up being on deathbed, and the number one regret that they have is that they didn't do that thing that they wanted to do. Okay, today, this second, not next month, not a month from now, not waiting until the new year. Now is the time to do the thing that you want to do. And guess what? If it doesn't work, the sun comes up tomorrow, or at least there's still oxygen in the air and you can still breathe, and you get to do a different version of that plan. And life is literally just that. 24-hour opportunities to take a stab at the thing that you want to do to become the person that you want to become. And if it doesn't work out today, it can work out tomorrow. It can work out the next day. But you have to be willing to continue to get back up at bat to do that thing.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I know.
So if you're out there and you're slumping around and you're waking up every day feeling sluggish, wondering what you can do to enhance your life, put on the Motivated Mind podcast. You will not be disappointed. Your podcast is a game changer, and it really forces you to think outside of the box.
Yeah. I appreciate that.
It's like a type of medicine that you don't get from normal everyday activities, and we just encourage everybody to tap in with you. And
matter of fact, if you haven't already, take a moment, pause this episode right now, and go hit those links below in the description box. Make sure you follow Scott Lynch. Go to his website. Go see the podcast on Spotify, everywhere. First of all, go look at it everywhere. And drop some love, and make sure you let him know that the Mixtape Queen sent you.
Yes, and Scott, so you're also the founder of Hashdash.
Yeah.
And this is a cannabis company that helps match people to the different strains, right? And there's different strands that can help with different things, whether it's pain or appetite or creativity. And, we're curious to hear more about Hashdash and how you got involved doing that.
Yeah, great question. So I have been in the legal cannabis industry for just over a decade. So the first company I actually started in the space is we opened up a cultivation facility, so an indoor growing facility for cannabis, 10,000 square feet. And what we did is we took hundreds of thousands of tissue cultures, And those tissue cultures enabled us to understand what cannabis needed from a nutrient, a fertilizer standpoint. And so then we designed fertilizers specifically for cannabis. So over those years, I was traveling all across the United States and Canada, went up to Organogram, the largest cannabis cultivator in the world, to Humboldt County, and going to Eureka and outdoor grows, to small grows down to Puerto Rico, too, as well. So I have been to all these different cultivation facilities, and there was this common theme on the back end of the house, as I like to call it, the individuals that are actually growing this plant. It was that there was a lot of trial and error. And sure, that is life, right? We try something, as we've been talking about, it doesn't work, we shift, or it works and we double down. But I thought to myself, wow, if this is the trial and error that's going on with the individuals that are cultivating this plant, imagine the consumers. And so I myself have been consuming since junior year in high school, about 3 times per month. It could be a pre-roll, it could be an edible, it could be a seltzer, you name it, to help with anything from pain after a workout to just getting clarity to even creativity too as well. And I started talking to a lot of consumers over those years, going to table events at dispensaries, to trade shows, and there was yet again another common theme with consumers. And it was that they were relying on anecdotal information to make decisions. And I'm a huge proponent of data. I talk about data on the podcast. Better data means you get to make better decisions. And so I thought, wow, okay, here's a plant that it has all of these different medicinal benefits to it, whether it be helping with appetite or anxiety or stress or migraines or back pain or PTSD. I mean, you name it. The list is very, very long. If that's the case, is there a better way that we could help consumers navigate to cultivars, aka strains, that are better matched for them? Could we change the experience rather than relying on, hey, my friend told me I should try this strain, or the bud tender told me I should try this strain? Is there a better way that we could go about that? So we spent a year really analyzing traditional markets outside of cannabis. And one that we landed on was entertainment. And looking at them objectively, they have done a really good job aggregating loads of data and helping consumers make better decisions. One of them is Spotify, right, where the podcast is. They have helped people discover podcasts and audiobooks now and music. And the other one is Netflix. They've done such a good job that some people just binge Netflix shows or movies, right? And I, myself and my team, we asked ourselves, could we create an experience like that for consumers with cannabis? Now, the challenge is that cannabis is so unique. There's so many different strains, there's so many different phenotypes, and each of us, our bodies are so unique. And so we spent many years now aggregating 5,227 cannabis strains and over 630,000 data points. And we created the world's first cannabis matching algorithm. So a consumer can come to our site completely for free, and they answer 5 to 7 minute quiz on what they prefer for THC levels, to terpenes, to cannabinoids, to maybe conditions or symptoms that they're trying to address. And we are able to match them to different strains. And we have machine learning. So the more that you interact with strains and write reviews and thumbs up and thumbs down, we can better refine your selection. And now the goal is that we really want to empower consumers to make better decisions so that they lead a healthier, more fulfilling life with cannabis, with this natural product. The opioid epidemic is horrific, and there's a lot of data on states where cannabis has been legalized that addiction has dropped. Alcohol consumption has dropped too as well. So I'm a huge proponent of natural remedies, and cannabis is at the top of that list. And I think it should be explored at least by a lot of consumers. So we help educate on the platform too. We have guides where they can, again, this lessons kind of going to that business too as well, where they can read through, what are terpenes? What are cannabinoids? What's the difference between the term strain and cultivar? And they get badges on their profile for educating themselves as a consumer, so they can hopefully pass along that education and again ultimately make better decisions. So we're empowering new consumers or those that tried cannabis a while ago and just had a bad experience to hopefully create a better one for them, and even enthusiasts to open their eyes to other strains and other possibilities and other knowledge. And so that's really our focus with Hashdash and the goal and the mission.
I love that.
It's so important,
isn't it? No,
love it.
It's so important.
Very, because for somebody like me who has, I don't want to say it's extreme anxiety, but I definitely have some strains where I was like, okay, I feel a little panic coming on. This
Sure.
is not the right one for me. And then I have to stop. And then I've had some where I'm like, wow, I can work with this. I don't even know what this is. I'm with it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's extremely helpful. I'm imagining that there's like thousands, if not millions, of people that are needing that.
It's so important.
Yes.
Like you said, it's a natural remedy. It's a plant that it grows. Like, I believe in save the soil. I think the soil is so important, not just for cannabis, but for the vegetables we eat.
Yep.
And the nutrients. And it's so helpful to some people, even if it's not for everybody. Like, my dad, who thinks it's for losers. You know, there's certain things, and even like in certain states that are still illegal. You know, it's really, really important that this message gets out there for people to get educated and see what the possibilities are for this medicine.
Yeah, the unfortunate, the thing that you're talking about right now with your father, there's Nixon did nobody any favor. I do not like politics. It doesn't matter which side of the political aisle you're on. But Nixon, started this war on drugs, and there's just been all of these stigmas over the years with cannabis, that it lowers your IQ, that it's going to make you lazy. All of this has been disproven time and time again, over and over again, because so many states have some sort of legislation in place, whether it be medical or whether it be recreational, and it's not true at all. And there are plenty of entrepreneurs that are very successful that consume cannabis, right? And so all of these false narratives have really become deconstructed over the years, especially with the younger generation, which is really beautiful. But I've ran into consumers that are 70, 80 years old, and I'm like, whoa, okay, this is pretty cool. You've been using it for 20, 30 years, 40 years, and it's helping you with hip pain or knee pain, right? And I just see all of these possibilities. And being in the industry for so long, I have seen the damage, including with my family, that the pharmaceutical companies have created. And many of them have been found, quote unquote, guilty, but not guilty in the traditional sense that they'll just pay out hundreds of millions of dollars, which is a slap on the wrist for them. That's pennies to them, but not actually admitting guilt. And to me, that is a very, very broken system. And I think if individuals can find something that is actually natural, that doesn't have 28 side effects that then they need to take 10 different pills to address those two as well. Interestingly enough, then the pharmaceutical companies make more money. But nonetheless, I digress. I don't want to go off on a tangent, but cannabis can be such a phenomenal product, and it's not for everybody. I want to be very clear on that. And right now, it is a lot of trial and error. There are phenomenal doctors that you can consult with, and even bud tenders, but there's definitely got to be a better way. And so we're hopeful and optimistic that our platform starts to create that better way, that bridge for consumers, so they don't run into getting recommended a strain that has high THC percentage to address anxiety, and all of a sudden they're more anxious, they're more paranoid. And I do think at the end of the day, it is really important to just be intentional with what we consume. And I think cannabis can be a great option for many people if they're just willing to open their mind, do some research, and give it a shot.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yes, thank you for doing that. I think it's a miracle for people who can connect with the right medicine that they need.
And it's like you said, it's natural. It's beautiful.
Mm.
So You expanded your reach through your one-on-one coaching,
Mm-hmm.
of course, and your newsletter, which we love. We have signed up for that. If you haven't already, signed up. Can you please tell us a little bit more about this and how people can get involved?
Sure. The one-on-one coaching specifically. So I found that I get so many DMs every week from individuals just saying, "Hey, I'm struggling with this. Could you do an episode on this?" And I've done so many episodes, 413 episodes now at this point, that there's a question that you have has probably been covered in one of the episodes, most likely, right? But again, what we were just talking about, everybody's life is so unique. Everybody's challenge that they're going through is so unique. So I wanted to create a system or something, a medium where people could really address those specific challenges. So I've had people join my one-on-one coaching that need to create some sort of digital system to help organize their life because their life is, they feel disorganized and they don't know how to categorize things and prioritize things. I've had people jump on for one-on-one coaching because they don't know where to start creating goals or finding their purpose or their passion and creating a compass for their life. So I have people join the program for a multitude of reasons. I take them for 30 days, 30-minute sessions. And over that I call it this 4-step pillar process, we focus on specifically the challenge that we're facing. And I help them solve that struggle, that challenge at the end of the day, so they can live a more fulfilling, happier life. And so that's really the one-on-one coaching. The newsletter was again another medium where not everybody likes to listen to podcasts, or maybe doesn't have the time to listen to podcasts for whatever reason. So the podcast is a quick 5-minute read. It started really long at first, and I was like, people don't have time for this. I need to shorten this down and make it more concise. So it's evolved a little over time. But it's more so for those that prefer reading over audio, or just want to be able to bookmark something that they can reference back to in written format. So that's really the purpose, the reason behind those two offerings.
Nice. I love that. You can't get enough motivation. No.
Yes, this is so true.
Yeah.
This is so true.
Yeah, because you can be motivated, and then by noon you need another motivation. It's like you need as much as you can get. And that newsletter, I mean, I love seeing it in my inbox because, it gives you just that little extra boost.
I love that. I will say this, and this is cutting myself off at the legs here, right? Motivation is a fleeting thing, right? It is an emotion. And this is why I think that it is, to your point, you constantly need hits of it like a drug, right? I need more of it. I need more of it. I need more of it. What we actually need at the end of the day is simply to take action, right, off of our desires, our dreams, our goals, our aspirations. And that's why finding your why and your purpose is so important. I think that we now live in a world where we hoard information, right? We bookmark so many tweets or whatever it's called now, and Instagram posts and newsletters and podcasts. And that's all well and good, but it becomes irrelevant if you don't leverage that knowledge to change your circumstances. And so we are living in a world where information is easy to come by, right? It's everywhere. There are millions of podcasts, there are millions of newsletters, there are millions of different websites, but really what's going to make the difference in your world is taking action off of that newfound knowledge, and that's 3/4 of it. The information is only a small portion of it.
Right. Yeah. Correct. Yeah, because you need to also rest. I've had days of too much motivation, and it's like you can't sleep at night because your brain's, so yeah, there's a lot that goes into it. Like we said, it gets hard, it gets complicated, but these are our biggest valuable assets, is what we do with our time is everything. So thank you, Scott, so much for being here with us. And this has been incredible talk. We love talking to you, and getting to see your face is really cool. We appreciate you so much for everything that you do. Absolutely. You're an amazing person, and we hope that the whole world can hear your podcast.
Thank you. Thank you. That means a lot. And it means a lot that the two of you took the time to speak with me today, listen to my story. And I'm grateful. Thank you for listening and reading. Thanks for having me on. And I really hope beyond all of this that the messages, the conversation that we had today really impacts listeners' lives, and they go out there and they do ultimately take action.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And get committed. That's the
Get
most
committed.
empowering thing.
Get
That's
committed.
the most
Yes.
empowering thing
Yes.
of today for me is like, get committed. Because I'm committed to a lot of stuff, but when it comes to things that I truly desire to do,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it can get a little iffy.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said,
have the two of you watched the movie about the woman that swam from Cuba to Florida? I can't
Yes,
remember.
Nayad.
Okay. Yeah, Nayad, thank you. Well, what a phenomenal movie that gives you goosebumps. But on your point around commitment, I just want to leave off on this. She said something that I was like, oh, damn, I'm pausing that, rewinding it, pausing it, playing it over again. And it was that something along the lines of, I signed a contract with my soul to never give up. And that I was just like, shit, nothing that gets in her way is going to stop her. Pain, lack of momentum, what people think about her, it didn't matter. Age, none of it, all of it was irrelevant to her at the end of the day. So I think if anybody does take anything away from this at the end of the day is, are you willing to sign a contract with your soul to never give up? And if you continue to reference that contract and the blood ink that you put on the bottom of it, you'll keep going.
absolutely.
Yes. Yes. We have signed. We've signed, and we're
signed that contract.
Yes.
So our motto is spread the music, spread the love, spread the vibes. And we've been on it.
Yep.
And I mean, if I'm not doing this job, if I'm not working and creating art, I don't feel good. I don't feel satisfied. And that's how I know we're doing the right thing. That's how I know we're on this right path to where we're supposed to be. And I'm a huge believer in not fate, but in the path chosen. I think we choose before we come here. It's a choice.
Yep.
And we come here to complete beautiful things. You know, if we put our heart and our mind to it, which they have to be in agreement, I believe in all decisions.
Yes.
If you put your heart and your mind to it, you will come to the greatest experiences of your life, no matter what you go through.
Yeah. That was beautifully put, right? Fate is, I bumped into someone, and then the destiny piece is, I'm taking action to explore this relationship, whether it be a business partnership or an intimate relationship, right? But we get to choose it at the end of the day. And I'm a firm believer in that too as well. I think everything happens for a reason, but the determining moment is what you do with that moment. That is the thing that makes or breaks those that are successful and those that are not, right? You were presented this door. Do you open it, or do you continue to hide behind the door, right? That is the thing that we can control, is turning that doorknob and opening up that door and peeking what's behind it, or plowing through it like the Kool-Aid man. That is the difference between those that are successful and those that are not. So I think destiny and fate get thrown around a lot. And people think, you know, why me? Or you got more luck in your life. And it's like, sure, luck plays a huge, huge piece in success, but you need to put yourself in a position to be able to seize that luck. And that's the biggest difference.
Absolutely. And that's how you receive serendipity.
Yes, I'm loving the infinite potential.
Yes.
The vibes. I love it.
Yeah.
Spiel. But
Yes, King.
And we appreciate you so much. Everybody that's listening to this podcast, please, please, please don't forget to go hit those links down in the description below. They will link to all of Scott Lynch's platforms.
Yes.
We appreciate you so much for coming on and joining us. You are one of the most gracious people we've ever met. And
Thank
we
you.
really appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.